Hi, I'm Jeff, craftsman of Refined Palette. Welcome to my shop. As you can see from the mess behind me, I do a lot of woodworking, making small gift items for any occasion. But today I wanted to talk to you about book safes. Turning a book, any ordinary book, into a nice place to hide your secrets. Love letters, keys, cash, whatever you want. In a nice hidden place on your bookshelf that not anybody's going to just know to look. Now there's many places that you can purchase book safes out on the market, but I wanted to give you a step-by-step instruction on how I construct mine, just so that you have an understanding of the work that is involved with making a book safe. Now I will be working with power tools today, so as with any power tool, make sure you know, understand, and follow the safety precautions when using power tools. And the number one safety? Wear your glasses. I don't care how dorky they make you look. You look even worse if you lose an eye. So let's get started. Choosing your book. This is going to be the first decision you're going to make when deciding what book safe you want to have on your bookshelf. You have just about any type of hardback cover book available to you, either new or used, for your consideration. You can start off with children's books, novels, another child's book, encyclopedia, and then we have a collection of stories. A couple things to consider. You don't want to go with something that is super thin. Like this book here, this children's book, Paddington Goes to Town, is a very thin book. So by the time we're done, yes, there will be a hollow cavity inside, but it really won't be deep enough to store much of anything. Books with slipcovers. This is a very nice book with a paper slipcover, and we can remove that if we wanted to use this book, but if you wanted to keep the slipcover look with it, there are methods to have a finished project with that, but we're not going to cover that today because there's some extra steps involved. Then we have some other books. These all make excellent books. They're thick enough to have adequate storage, but they're not so thick that our tools can't handle it. But a couple things to consider. What do you have on your bookshelf right now? If you have novels and mystery stories, you don't want to have something that stands out like a children's book. You want it to blend, so we'll get rid of that one. Also, you want to make sure that it's not super interesting. If you have a book that really catches the eye and draws the attention, you kind of defeated the purpose of having a secret hiding space on your bookshelf. So we'll get rid of this Wings of War. That leaves us with Reader's Digest condensed books. This is a collection of 5 stories into one. It's not the most interesting book in the world, other than some of these stories are pretty good, but this would blend in fairly well on my bookshelf. It's thick enough for adequate storage, and it's an attractive book. So we're going to go with this one for today. Okay, before we get started, there are some essential tools and supplies you will want to gather. In addition to the book that you're going to be turning into your book safe, you are going to need a fine tip Sharpie, a razor blade, a pencil, a large rubber band, a straight edge, a brush, some general spray adhesive, some sort of glue. I prefer a puzzle glue like Mod Podge, painter's tape, wax paper, some 1/8 inch backer board. You'll need a couple pieces of that. This is optional. I'm just using just about anything round, and I'll show you where this comes into play later on. A brad nailer with some nails, a drill with a larger drill bit in it. The size is not totally important. In addition to this, you are going to need a scroll saw and a table saw. So let's get started. Okay, now that we've picked out our book, it's time to get started on the construction process. First off, we need to choose a couple pages that we are going to want in the front of the book so that when somebody just opens it, you don't just see right away that it is a book safe. So we're going to go back to at least the title page here. This one is called Wild Goose Mother. And actually, I'm gonna decide that I just want this to be the first page or the last page somebody sees. So we're gonna take that along with one extra page and use our rubber band around the cover just to hold those out of the way. Now that I've folded this back, I can measure platform that I need to get for what I eventually cut will be my backer boards. So it's a real simple process of measuring almost to the spine. We've got 5 inches by 7¼ inches. So you just go ahead and write that down. Now before we go ahead and close it back up, go ahead and flip through the book. Find an interesting page with a picture on it that you think would be great for a background, and I'll show you what this is for at the very end, but something that is really interesting and hopefully goes with the theme of the book. I went ahead and I already did that using my knife. I found a page and I cut it out, and I chose this. It's a nice picture of a couple of geese that we will use as a background picture on the inside of the book when it is all finished and done. So now let's move on to cutting the backing board. Okay, now I'm back from the table saw. What I did was I took a large piece of backer board. This is just fiber board that you can pick up at Home Depot or any other store. It's 1/8 of an inch thick, and I went ahead and I cut 2 pieces that are 5 inches wide by 7¼ inches tall. And these are the backer boards cut to the size that we need for the particular book that we're working on. So now we need to actually make this into a little template for how we're going to cut our book. So you're going to need a straight edge and a fine tip Sharpie. And I went ahead and I already marked my straight edge, if we can see it here on the screen. One mark at 7/16 and another one at 7/8. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through on each of these. I'm going to mark off 7/16 and 7/8 in 2 spots. And then draw my grid. So I'm just getting a straight line at each of those measurements across the board. And I'm going to repeat this process on all 4 sides. Okay, so now I have my grid template set up going to all 4 corners. And now I'm going to put in a rounded edge. This is where that circular little piece of equipment that I told you would come into play. And you can use just about any diameter container that you want, but this one works well for me. And I'm just going to line it up to the inside edge of the 2 lines in the corner and draw my radius. That gives me what the inside corner of my cutout is going to look like. So I went ahead and on my other one here I did all 4 sides. So this is what it looks like when it's done. I've got the radius on the inside. This is the material that I'm actually going to cut out that will be the hole inside the book. For this template I didn't run it all the way to the edge, but I have little hash marks for that halfway point that I had marked earlier. Then I went ahead and I just took a second piece, and all I need on this is the square on the back, the single square. I don't need the hashtags on the outside. This is just a guide for me on the back side of the book when it comes to cutting. I also don't need the rounded corners. So now that we have this done, we can move on to the next step, marking the book. Okay, for this step, marking the book, you are going to need a straight edge, pencil, and of course the main template that you had already marked with the small little hashtags in between where the actual cut lines are going to be. These are going to be your guides for where you're going to drive your metal pins for reinforcing the book. So we're going to open up, we're going to find the back of the book, which is this side. Just open it up, line up the width of your template, and just put a little mark. Little teeny mark on each side where you have those little hashtags. Then I just use the edge of this board, and I just put down a line. Now I do the same thing going in the other direction. This one, this mark, and this mark, and then I can use my backer board as my straight edge to put in that line. And you want to do that for all 4 sides, so you end up with your little guidelines right in here. And you're going to use these for your marker as to where you're actually going to nail in your brad nails. Now you do the same thing on the front side. Exact same process with your pencil, but you want to make sure that your lines are extremely light because you don't want those to show through when you cover up the nail heads with this page before it that we had saved, that we will use to cover those up in some of the finishing process. So now that we got those marked up, now it's time to start using some of the fun tools. Onto the brad nailer.